The Montana highway stretched empty under moonlight. Former Navy SEAL combat medic Alex Mitchell drove his weathered pickup, fingers tapping the wheel, 3 medals in his glove box for a combat tour behind him. Tonight would change everything. Alex noticed a patrol SUV before the flashing lights hit his mirrors. He wasn't speeding, wasn't swerving, just driving home after his shift at the Veteran Support Center in Helena. Sheriff James Harrington had been watching from a hidden turnout, bored on a quiet Tuesday night. License and registration, Harrington demanded, flashlight beam deliberately aimed at Alex's eyes. No greeting, no explanation. Evening, officer. Mind telling me why I was stopped? Alex kept his hands visible on the wheel, voice steady from years of staying calm under pressure. You were weaving between lanes. Been drinking tonight? Harrington's free hand rested on his holster, a deliberate intimidation tactic. No, sir, I haven't. I've been working late at the Veteran Center. I don't care where you work. License and registration now. The sheriff's voice hardened. Alex moved slowly, retrieving his documents from the glove compartment. This is my personal vehicle, but I'm a federal contractor at the VA. Harrington barely glanced at the ID. Step out of the vehicle. May I ask why? I've been cooperative. Step out now. I'm conducting a field sobriety test. Harrington's hand gripped his holster tighter. Alex's jaw tensed, but 20 years of military discipline kept his voice level. Am I being detained? I'd like to understand the reason. You're questioning my orders? Harrington yanked the door open. Out! Now! That's when Alex calmly reached for his phone, tapping record. Just so we're clear, Sheriff, I'm recording this interaction. Harrington hesitated briefly, eyes flicking to the phone, but pride pushed him forward. Do whatever you want. Walk heel to toe, arms at your sides. Under harsh headlights, Alex performed perfectly. No missteps, no slurring, nothing but military precision. Still, Harrington wrote him a ticket for failure to maintain lane and thrust it forward with a smirk. Sheriff James Harrington hadn't always been this way. 18 years wearing the badge had hardened him into someone unrecognizable from the eager deputy who once dreamed of serving his community. Now, at 46, he commanded the department through fear rather than respect. Another driver giving you lip? Deputy Collins asked when Harrington returned to the station. Some smartass try and play the federal employee card. Harrington tossed his hat onto the desk. Thought he was special. I straightened him out. The precinct had grown accustomed to Harrington's version of justice. He followed procedures just enough to avoid formal complaints, writing detailed reports, filing paperwork correctly, showing up for court dates. But everyone knew his philosophy. On these roads, his word was law. Back at his desk, Harrington uploaded his body camera footage, but didn't bother reviewing it. Just another routine stop. Another citizen put in their place. He logged the incident. Driver questioned authority, possible impairment, citation issued. Simple, clean, forgettable. The following morning in the break room, Harrington recounted the stop to younger deputies. Guy tried pulling rank on me. He laughed. Flashed some federal ID like I should bow down. Deputy Rodriguez frowned. What was his name? Mitchell. Alex Mitchell. Rodriguez's expression changed. The combat medic? Short brown hair, scar along his jawline. Maybe, Harrington shrugged, suddenly less certain. Why? James, that guy's not just anyone. He was a SEAL team medic, multiple deployments. Purple Heart, Bronze Star with Valor. He lectures at the academy sometimes. Saved like 20 guys during an ambush in Kandahar. For a brief moment, Harrington felt uneasy, but he brushed it aside. Don't care who he is on my roads. The law's the law. But as Rodriguez walked away, Harrington caught the whispered, "You mess with the wrong guy," directed at another deputy. For the first time, something cold settled in his stomach. The first hint that his badge might not shield him this time. At his small ranch outside Helena, Alex Mitchell sat at his kitchen table, reviewing the video from last night. The sheriff's aggressive stance, the unnecessary sobriety test, the hand constantly hovering near his weapon. All for a driver who'd done nothing wrong. 22 years in the Navy had given Alex perspective. For deployments as a special operations combat medic had taught him about real threats. The scar along his jawline, a reminder the day he'd carried 3 wounded Marines through gunfire, told more about courage than any badge ever could. Still bothering you? Asked Sam, Alex's former teammate who was staying with him while recovering from surgery. It's not about me, Alex replied, pausing the video where the sheriff grabbed his door. It's about what happens to someone without my training. Someone who panics or argues back or doesn't know their rights. Alex hadn't always been the type to push back. The Navy had taught him discipline, respect for authority. But his second tour in Afghanistan had changed that. He'd watched good men die because someone with rank made bad decisions. He'd promised himself then, respect the position, but hold the person accountable. His phone buzzed. A text from Commander Reynolds, his former commanding officer, now working at the Pentagon. You okay? Heard about last night. Need anything? News traveled fast in veteran circles. Alex typed back, handling it. Might need a character witness. By afternoon, Alex had contacted the Military Legal Assistance Office. The young JAG lawyer, Lieutenant Commander Sofia Martinez, reviewed his footage twice. This is textbook harassment, she said. The sheriff had no reasonable suspicion to initiate the stop. No probable cause for sobriety test. We have options. Alex nodded, fingering the Purple Heart pin on his desk, awarded after he'd been hit while shielding a wounded Marine. I'm not looking for money or fame. What are you looking for? Martinez asked. Accountability. Alex's voice was quiet but firm. That sheriff treats his badge like a shield for bad behavior. Tonight it was me. Tomorrow someone who can't defend themselves. The next morning, Alex filed a formal complaint with the county, the State Police Standards Division, and the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. He attached the video evidence and his military service record. Then he waited, knowing the battle had just begun. Sheriff Harrington was finishing paperwork when the county clerk delivered the envelope, assuming it was routine correspondence. He tore it open without ceremony. His expression darkened as he read. Summons to appear. Civil rights violation. Case #CV 2023-0475. Plaintiff, Alexander J. Mitchell. Defendant, Sheriff James Harrington. Harrington crumpled the paper, tossing it toward his trash can. Ridiculous, he muttered. Driver thinks he can intimidate me with paperwork. But the envelope contained more. A formal letter from the Department of Justice, noting their interest in the case, and a USB drive. Reluctantly, he inserted it into his computer. The split-screen comparison was damning. His body camera on one side, Alex's phone recording on the other. Every aggressive move, every unnecessary escalation, every procedural violation laid bare. Sheriff, Chief Deputy Banks, stood at his door. The county attorney needs to speak with you. Now. In the conference room, County Attorney Teresa Willis didn't mince words. This isn't good, James. The plaintiff is a decorated combat veteran. Multiple commendations, spotless record, well-connected. So what? Harrington countered. He was weaving. Your own dash cam shows he wasn't, Willis interrupted. And the plaintiff has statements from 3 other veterans reporting similar stops by you in the past 6 months. This isn't going away. For the first time in his career, Harrington felt something unfamiliar, vulnerability. As he walked back to his office, he noticed deputies falling silent, avoiding eye contact. His phone buzzed with a text from his wife. Just got a call from Diane at church. Everyone's talking about your lawsuit. What's going on? Alex didn't want a circus. In his modest living room, he sat with Lieutenant Commander Martinez and 2 civil rights attorneys, reviewing their strategy. 3 weeks until the court date. They'll try to discredit you, said Ramona Fields, the lead civil attorney. Paint you as anti-police, hypersensitive, or attention-seeking. Alex smiled faintly. I've been shot at by actual enemies. A courtroom doesn't scare me. It's not about fear, Martinez countered. It's about justice. And justice requires strategy. They prepared Alex methodically, how to speak clearly, stay factual, avoid emotional responses. how to explain military protocols, and why he recognized the sheriff's tactics as intimidation, not procedure. Why are you really doing this? Fields asked during a break. Most people would have paid the ticket and moved on. Alex walked to the window, looking at the mountains. In Kandahar, 2012, our convoy hit an IED. While treating casualties, we came under fire. I had this young Marine, couldn't have been older than 20, bleeding out. He looked at me and said, "Doc, don't let them get away with this." He wasn't talking about the Taliban. He turned back to Fields. He was talking about the commander who sent us down that road despite intelligence warnings. He was talking about accountability. He died 10 minutes later. Across town, Sheriff Harrington sat in his attorney's office, increasingly agitated. County Attorney Willis had recommended settlement, but Harrington refused. "This goes to court. You're facing significant personal liability," his attorney warned. "The county won't cover damages if you're found to have violated constitutional rights." "I'm not apologizing to some self-important veteran," Harrington insisted. "I did my job." His attorney sighed. "Then we need to prepare you for cross-examination. They'll have the video, they'll have witnesses, and they'll have his service record." For the first time, doubt crept into Harrington's voice. How bad could it get? If we lose? Your career, your pension, your reputation, everything. The Helena County Courthouse buzzed with unusual activity. Local reporters gathered outside, tipped off about a civil rights case against the county's most prominent law enforcement officer. Alex arrived early, parking his truck behind the courthouse to avoid the cameras. In the restroom, he straightened his navy dress blues, every ribbon and medal meticulously placed. Purple Heart, Bronze Star with Valor, Combat Action Ribbon, for deployment medals. Not for show, but as testimony to his character. Sheriff Harrington entered through the front, dressed in his department uniform, flanked by his attorney and the county's legal representative. His confident stride faltered momentarily when he spotted Alex in full military dress. Judge Eleanor Matheson called the court to order. Mitchell versus Harrington. Civil rights violation under color of authority. Opening statements. Ramona Fields spoke first. "Your Honor, this case is about abuse of power, plain and simple. Sheriff Harrington stopped my client without cause, escalated without provocation, and violated clearly established constitutional protections. Mr. Mitchell served this country through 4 combat deployments, saving countless American lives. He deserves better from law enforcement at home." Harrington's attorney countered. "My client acted within standard procedure for suspected impaired driving. This case amounts to a veteran who believes his service entitles him to special treatment." The courtroom tensed at these words. Alex testified first, voice steady as he narrated the video playing on the courtroom screen. "I maintained a respectful tone throughout. I did not resist, argue, or threaten. I simply asked why I was being detained." During cross-examination, Harrington's attorney attempted to undermine Alex's credibility. "Mr. Mitchell, isn't it true you immediately identified yourself as a federal employee? Were you attempting to intimidate Sheriff Harrington with your status?" "No," Alex replied calmly. "I mentioned my federal work because the sheriff seemed suspicious of my vehicle. In the military, we're trained to de-escalate, not escalate." When Sheriff Harrington took the stand, his testimony quickly unraveled under questioning. "Sheriff, where on your dash cam footage do we see Mr. Mitchell weaving between lanes?" Fields asked. "It happened before I activated my lights," Harrington claimed. "Your dash cam runs continuously. The 5 minutes before the stop shows perfectly normal driving. Were you being truthful about your reason for stop?" Harrington shifted uncomfortably. "I perceived irregular driving." "And would you have conducted yourself differently if you'd known Mr. Mitchell was a decorated veteran?" After a long pause, Harrington admitted, "Possibly." A murmur swept through the courtroom. Judge Matheson called for order, but the damage was done. The sheriff had admitted to selective enforcement based on status. Exactly what Alex's case aimed to prove. 3 days later, the courtroom was packed as Judge Matheson prepared to deliver her verdict. Alex sat calmly beside his attorneys, while Harrington fidgeted with his uniform cuff. Having reviewed all evidence and testimony, Judge Matheson began. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. Sheriff Harrington violated Mr. Mitchell's constitutional rights under the Fourth Amendment through an unlawful detention without reasonable suspicion or probable cause. Harrington stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Furthermore, the judge continued, the court finds the defendant's conduct demonstrated a willful disregard for established procedure and an abuse of authority. This court awards compensatory damages of $75,000 to be paid by the defendant personally, not by county insurance. The judge removed her glasses. Additionally, I am referring this case to the State Police Standards and Training Commission for review of Sheriff Harrington's certification. A full investigation of department practices is warranted. Alex showed no reaction beyond a single nod. This wasn't about victory. It was about verification that the system could still correct itself. Outside, reporters surrounded Harrington. Sheriff, will you appeal? Will you resign? What does this mean for your department? Harrington pushed through without comment, face flushed with anger and humiliation. Within hours, the story hit local news. Decorated Navy SEAL medic wins civil rights case against sheriff. By evening, state officials announced an investigation into the county sheriff's department practices. County Commissioner Fletcher called an emergency meeting. This incident has damaged public trust. We need immediate policy changes and accountability measures. For the first time in 18 years, Sheriff Harrington faced something his badge couldn't deflect. Consequences. Back at his office, 3 resignation letters from deputies awaited him. The protective silence that had enabled him for years was finally breaking. As Alex descended the courthouse steps, a black SUV pulled up, followed by another, then another. Men in civilian clothes emerged, some with military haircuts, others with beards grown since leaving service. 15 former Special Operations personnel formed a silent line at the bottom of the stairs. "What's this?" a reporter asked. Commander Reynolds stepped forward. "We're here for our brother." Photographers captured the moment as the group surrounded Alex, a protective formation, instinctive and practiced. These weren't just former teammates. They were the men Alex had treated in combat, lives he'd saved, brothers bonded by blood both shed and preserved. Captain Marcus Torres, walking with prosthetic leg, approached Alex first. "Doc saved my life in Helmand Province," he told a reporter. "Carried me 2 kilometers under fire after our Humvee hit an IED. That's who Sheriff Harrington decided to harass." Sheriff Harrington, attempting to leave unnoticed through a side exit, froze when he saw the gathering. For the first time, the reality of who he had targeted hit home. Not just one veteran, but an entire brotherhood. Chief Petty Officer Ramirez, still serving, approached Harrington. "You know what we learned in the teams? Authority without integrity is just bullying. Remember that next time you pull someone over." The images spread rapidly across social media. Veterans groups shared the story nationwide. Hashtag #RespectTheDoc began trending. Military bases across Montana reported the story in morning briefings. By sunset, 3 different police departments had reached out to Alex, asking him to conduct training sessions on de-escalation and proper civilian interaction. "This isn't what I wanted," Alex told Reynolds as they drove away. "Maybe not," Reynolds replied, "but it's what was needed. Sometimes the mission finds you, document. You taught us that." 6 months later, Alex stood before police cadets at the Montana Law Enforcement Academy. The fateful dashcam footage playing behind him. "This wasn't just about one traffic stop," he explained. "It's about how power without accountability corrupts even good people." Across Montana, changes were visible. New body camera policies, civilian review boards, de-escalation training requirements. "The hardest battle isn't against enemies abroad," Alex concluded, "but against injustice at home. When you put on that uniform, remember, true strength comes from protecting rights, not trampling them." The cadets rose in unanimous applause, one man stand creating endless ripples. Have you ever witnessed an abuse of power or stood up against an unfair system? Share your story in the comments below. Your voice matters, and together we can ensure accountability from those who serve. If this story moved you, please share, and subscribe for more powerful stories of everyday courage. Remember, sometimes the most patriotic act is holding our institutions to their highest ideals.